Hey everybody, my name is Colin and this is Colin Talks Crypto. A user posted this chart on Facebook and I thought this was an interesting one to share with you guys. It was captioned simply, "What does this chart tell you?" And I want to tell you guys what this chart tells me. And please put in your comments what you think this chart tells you. So this is the price of Bitcoin over the past several years. It looks like encompassing at least two bull runs. So this would go back to 2013 or so. And for all the technical people, the orange line is a 600-day moving average, which means it's the average over the last 600 days of prices. And the red arrows indicate support that turned into resistance. And on the converse, the blue arrow indicate resistance that turned into support. Shortly after the red arrow, we reached the all-time low for that particular price cycle. And when I say price cycle, I'm referring to between the two peaks of any given bull runs. So as you can see, shortly after both of those red arrows, there's a drop to the lowest point that is ever seen during that particular price cycle. And we recently saw that down to approximately $3,300 in the cycle that we're currently in, which is the drop after that second red arrow. And after that lowest point, the market has gone sideways for a little while, and then it has climbed upward, and then it has corrected. And the blue arrow is telling me that that is the lowest point that the market will ever again see. The price of Bitcoin will never ever go below that point. And that point also indicates the beginning of the ascent up the next bull run. And so we are at the precipice of that particular stage. And if you'll notice the distance here, I mean, everything's approximate, but the blue arrow is approximately halfway between the two bull run peaks. And so if we extrapolate that, we can tell that the next bull run peak is going to be about equidistant from where we are today to December of 2017. And that's approximately 2 years. So per this particular graph and way of looking at things, it would seem to indicate that we have almost exactly 2 years from today until the next bull run peak. And that would put us at late 2021. So I believe we will be seeing a climb similar to the one between that first blue arrow and the peak from now until late 2021. And I had done a previous video on my prediction of the price being $211,000. And I still think that that price prediction is right in the middle of where it could end up. It could go $100,000 either direction, but it's definitely going to go in that direction, up that high. And some people might say, well, you said it was going to be in January of 2021. And it could be. I just want to remind people that was simply a model done on proportions. It was done on the time and height proportions of past bull runs. And that's all it is. You know, I can't predict the future and I can't say for sure that anything is going to happen, but the best we can do is look at what has happened and extrapolate the possibilities to give us an educated guess as to where we might go. Now, with that all being said, the trick is knowing when to sell. And this is my cash out plan topic that I've done a couple videos on. For example, if you look where it peaks out, you know, the December 2017 $20,000 price, it's easy to look at that and go, well, you know, you just sell near the top of that price curve. Well, it's not that easy when you're in the moment. It's easy now because we have all the graph data that we can look back upon and we can see where the top is. But I urge you to do an experiment here, and I'll do this with you right now. We're going to cover part of the data, and we're going to pretend we're only halfway up that price curve. And, you know, it looks pretty steep, right? And imagine that was you sitting there and you've been there for a year and a half and you're looking at that chart. I mean, that looks like a pretty damn tempting time to sell, right? Because you're so far above everything before, you're well above the all-time high. So how do you know when to sell? You might be tempted to pull the trigger right there. And you don't know. That's the trick. And so that's why I think that these models are so valuable, because it gives you an idea. If you were to visualize maybe like a box of where and when the price could peak out. And basically, my cash out plan involves visualizing that box, that virtual price box of the range where and when the price could be and how much, and beginning to incrementally sell in increasing percentages of my portfolio up to an amount that I determine is my final selling amount, like 50% of my portfolio, for example. So if we go back to covering up part of the graph, what I would be doing there based on past graph data is I would start to sell in maybe 5% increments every couple of months and increase that. And then in a couple months later, do a 10% and then do a 15 or 20%. And as the price continues to climb, I up my selling amount. And that's my cash out plan. And you don't know exactly where it's going to top out. But one of the worst things that you could do would be to hold it through the whole peak, hold it through the whole bear market, and not sell a single profit. That would be one of the worst things you could do. And unfortunately, I have done that, very similar to that. I did take a little profit, but not nearly as much as I wish I'd had, and probably not nearly as much as many of you wish you had as well. So it's the art of predicting when to estimate the percentage sells on an increasing scale upward as we approach the next bull run peak. And that way, let's say it goes above 200,000. Let's say I think it's going to cap out at 200,000. But let's say it just keeps on going. It goes 220, 240, Bitcoin hits 260,000. Well, if I had said that I was targeting half my portfolio to be sold by 200,000, well, then I still have half my portfolio as it's climbing even higher. And to be honest, I feel pretty safe continuing to sell more if it goes above my target price of 200,000. So I'd be comfortable selling another 10%, 60% of my portfolio at that point, 70% of my portfolio if it continues to climb higher, etc. Let's say it hits 300,000. At that point, I feel like the risk-reward ratio is pretty in my favor to continue selling. The price cannot skyrocket forever, and that's the starry-eyed illusion that I had on that last December 2017 bull run, was that the price was just going to forevermore go up. I didn't even have a thought of selling it because it was so exciting. And in retrospect, that was the biggest mistake I made. It was actually not selling, which is ironic. So anyways, guys, that's what I see on this chart here. It shows me that we are at the beginning of the uptick in the bull run that's never going to look back. The prices that we have just seen, for example, $6,000, it's not looking back from that point, and it's just going to go up, up, up over the next approximately 2 years. And a friend asked me, well, that second blue arrow there, well, what if that's not really the bottom? What if it drops to 5,000 right now? Well, my answer is then the blue arrow simply moves over to the 5,000. That's no problem. The market is basically testing its lows. And once it establishes that low, and we'll only know that in hindsight, it's never going to look back. I strongly believe we have seen the final low, but it's no problem if we do see another low. It's going to be brief, and then we start the upward movement over the next 2 years. Also, I just wanted to add that I've noticed that there are some individuals out there who, in my opinion, are going to pull the trigger way too early on the next bull run. I've seen some people, I think Chico Crypto was one of them, who said he was going to start to sell around the $40,000 per Bitcoin price mark. And I really feel like that's an error, and that's going to be regretted greatly down the road. And the reason I say that is because there has never in the history of Bitcoin been a bull run peak that is only 2x the previous bull run peak. Every bull run peak has substantially and grossly surpassed the previous bull run peak. And there are charts out there that show the X multiplier. So why would you start to sell at the 2X multiplier? I think that's not just conservative, I think that's stupid. I think that's playing way too much into fear and being way too risk averse, because none of the past data corroborates that decision. The fact of the matter is, it's highly more likely that the price is going to skyrocket past 40,000. And that's why my starting selling point, to start my incremental 3% or 5% sales of my crypto portfolio will begin around the 40x of the current market's price bottom, around $3,300. So you take 40 times $3,300, and that's where I'm going to start to sell incrementally on the way up. But you can see that that number is much greater than $40,000. I think $40,000 is a fool's price point to start selling at. So anyways, just some food for thought. Take a look at how big each bull run peak has been over the previous bull run to get an idea of what magnitude you should be looking at, and don't sell yourself short, because I think that's almost as big of an error as not selling at all and holding through the entire bull run and bear cycle without selling a penny. The next biggest error is to sell far too early and selling at $40,000. I mean, shit, you might as well have just held through the whole thing and let your coins down to that price during the next correction. Keep in mind that this Bitcoin bull run prediction does not account for the fact that the Bitcoin network, BTC, is running with full blocks and max capacity, which means higher and higher fees. This will likely result in the highest fees Bitcoin has ever seen, and which may affect its bull run by prematurely stunting it. Layer 2 scaling options are not widely adopted enough to alleviate this congestion, and it does not appear that this will significantly change during the next 2 years. But anything can happen, and it will be interesting to see how scaling or continued lack of scaling on Bitcoin plays into the upcoming bull run. One way to see if fees did truly inhibit Bitcoin during the upcoming bull run is by looking at Bitcoin's market dominance. You can see that on CoinMarketCap at the top, clicking on market dominance. If Bitcoin's market dominance drops in relation to the altcoins, then we know that it bled value to them. So I'll be watching that chart as well, and that's why I hold a diversity of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin Cash, EOS, and Ethereum. Bitcoin Cash and EOS both have solid scaling potential in place already today. Other cryptocurrencies tend to follow the same pattern as Bitcoin, so we can likely expect some big gains from cryptocurrencies with strong fundamentals. So guys, it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to this. We waited so patiently, 2 years of bear market and sideways. And so all of you who held through this and still are holding on to all those tokens and Bitcoin, I know that I feel very lucky and fortunate, and I hope that you are too. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm with you on this ride. Have a great day.
I got a voice, we got a voice, you got a choice, I got a choice, we got a choice, you got a voice, I got a voice, we got a voice, you got a